It is Tuesday afternoon, 4 p.m. in Switzerland, and it's Space Café Web Talk time. Our Space Café Web Talk, 33 minutes with Danica Remy, I hope I pronounced it right, will begin soon. Thank you for joining us for our talk today about what do astronauts, astrophysicists, and even rockstars have in common with asteroids. As always, we appreciate your participation and your ongoing feedback. Any responses are very valuable for us and helps us to improve. I'm Torsten Kriening, your host today and publisher of SpaceWatch.Global. We are a Switzerland-based online platform for information in and about space and new space activities in a geopolitical context. I know many of you are already familiar with our website, our bi-weekly and daily newsletters, and the Space Café podcast. Stay tuned for our next episode tomorrow morning. Spoiler, it will be very cool again. So we also keep our fan shop open online for you to support us actively and become a space watcher. Edition 1 has cool items for you, your friends, and the ones you love. So your support is needed. If you have missed any of our previous web talks, we have an archive available on our website and in the event section, in the event section and on YouTube. We host our Space Café Web Talks live weekly. I'm very happy to have the opportunity to have her as my guest today. It is my great pleasure to welcome Danica Remy in the early hours in California in my show today. So thank you very much for getting up that early to join us here. She is the president of the B612 or 612 Foundation, an organization dedicated to protecting Earth from asteroid impacts. She previously has led operations for several businesses and philanthropic organizations, providing expertise and extensive experience in information technologies, facilities, human resources, finance, and government relations. Danica also co-founded the international program, the Asteroid Day, supported by the government of Luxembourg and sanctioned by the United Nations as an official day to increase global awareness and education of asteroids. And that's what we are focusing today on. Before joining B612, she served as a Chief Operation Officer of Tides, a social venture. And Danica serves on numerous boards, including serving as Vice Chair for Network for Good and Director and Treasurer of Long Now Foundation, an organization dedicated to fostering long-term thinking. At least for me, that sounds like a very fascinating career so far. I mean, it's just the beginning, as we all know. Danica, once more, thank you for being my guest in this show today.
Thank you so much for hosting me.
So, let's start with a very easy question. Why Asteroid Day? I mean, you worked in so many outstanding organizations, so why that? What is the personal story behind that?
Well, in the end, I'm really a techno-optimist, and I believe that technology is going to and has been driving a lot of very important innovation, both from a business and from a social perspective. And so my career has been really a ride through a lot of fabulous innovation in different fields, starting with the computer revolution in the 80s through to the internet revolution in the early 2000s to now the satellite and new space revolution that we're in today. So I've had a great opportunity to ride the wave of humanity's innovation. And this is the most exciting adventure that I think we've been on, the new space revolution. I would say that my background is informed by having helped co-found an organization called Global Business Network, which was a futures research and scenario planning organization that helped corporations think about scenarios which were, not really all that well known in the business planning environment until GBN started to actually teach what Royal Dutch Shell had been doing internally for many years. So I've had the opportunity to really kind of understand that multiple factors are going to impact business and humanity, and we have to be looking at all the different directions that change and opportunity might come from. And so the new space revolution is one of those opportunities for good. And there'll be challenges as we're all experiencing, but I'm really excited to be part of the larger ecosystem that makes up the future of space. So thank you for having me here today.
It's a great pleasure. And tell us more about Asteroid Day. Who's behind Asteroid Day? I mean, can you talk about all these great people that make that happen? Also referring to our title of the Space Café today, if that's possible.
Yeah, well, so, the Space Cafe is, it's great to be here, and so many things are happening in the field right now. And, you folks have been hosting some great talks of people who are, directly in it. And so the way that I'm directly in it, or Asteroid Day is directly in it, is that, it was started in 2014 by the Association of Space Explorers and a young, talented filmmaker from Germany, Greg Richters, who had produced a film called 51 Degrees North about an asteroid that was heading towards London, and it ends badly. And I had taken a role running the B612 Foundation, which is dedicated to protecting the planet from asteroid impacts, as you mentioned. And I had asked Dr. Brian May to be one of our strategic advisors at B612 when I joined, because
how did that happen? I mean, you just said, "Oh, who do I need here? Just call Brian May." I mean, come on, that can't be that easy.
So at GBN, we had a network of remarkable people. So they were thinkers who helped corporations tell their stories or imagine their futures. And so a couple of those folks included Peter Gabriel as well as Brian Eno. And so when I found out that Brian May had become an astrophysicist after Queen stopped touring when Freddie Mercury died, I rang up Peter and I said, "Peter, could you introduce me to Brian? Because I'm doing something I don't know a lot about and I need some advisors." And so between that conversation and a conversation with Lord Martin Rees, we got Brian to sign it to be an advisor to B612. And that was in 2012.
I got it. So, okay, it helps to know Peter Gabriel firsthand to get a connection to Brian May. Okay, I understand it. Life can be easy, I see.
And so Brian introduced me to Greg, who was making the film 51 Degrees North. And, we started talking, and a series of kind of conversations happened over the year 2014. It was a year after the asteroid had impacted in Chelyabinsk in 2013. So that was an asteroid that arrived unannounced, as most asteroids will arrive unannounced. And it blew up outside of a town in Russia called Chelyabinsk. And the explosion of that asteroid, when it hit outside of town, sent a shockwave through Chelyabinsk and knocked out 100,000 windows and sent 1,500 people to the hospital. So it was sort of humanity's first experience documenting, and it was well documented because everyone has dash cams in Russia, experience a documented asteroid impact. And so it was it's kind of sort of top of mind as we entered into 2014, and Greg's film was, a great piece of storytelling. And we started talking about, well, what do we need to do in order to continue to grow the world's understanding of this important and existential risk that we actually could do something about, which is unusual for existential risks. Humanity can do something about it. We can talk about that a little bit later, but that led us to figure out, okay, what would humanity's call to action be? And so that call to action was expressed in what we call the 100X Declaration, which is a call to governments and corporations and individuals and educators and philanthropic organizations to accelerate the rate of asteroid discovery by 100X. So when we launched, we were finding collectively around the world through the telescopes that we have today on the ground primarily, about 1,000 new asteroids a year. And we wanted to accelerate that to 100,000 a year because there's more than 3 million asteroids that come near our Earth. We don't care about the ones that are out there in the main asteroid belt because they stay pretty stable, their orbit. We care about the ones that come near our neighborhood, home, planet. And so there's about 3 million of those. And today, we know where about 26,000 of those are. And we're finding about now, because technology has been getting better, we're finding about 2,000 new asteroids, near Earth asteroids a year. So we've got a long way to go to build up that inventory of asteroids. And so the 100X was that call to action that says, come on, humanity, let's get our act together. Let's find some more asteroids. And so that was how we launched Asteroid Day with the 100X. And we asked a lot of notable folks to sign the 100X declaration, sort of similar to how the Union for Concerned Scientists signed their manifest about their concerns about humanity's capabilities with nuclear weapons. And so it was a call to action that says, here's a problem. We know what the solution is. We need to find them because we can actually deflect them if we knew that they were coming. And so the biggest problem is that we don't know where they are. So the signatories were folks like, a variety of Nobel Prize winners, entertainers, business leaders, writers, and academics. So we've got a group of great folks who've signed, but the group that was most influential in all of this was the Association of Space Explorers. So they're called the ASE, and it's the club of people who've been to space. So there's about 555 folks who have been to space. And the Association of Space Explorers helped us write the 100X declaration and then asked the astronauts to sign it. So we launched with, over 50 or 60 of astronauts from Mercury and Apollo and the shuttle who signed on. And who better to know that this is a real problem where there's a real solution than the astronauts? So that was how we launched Asteroid Day.
Wow. And that's on the 30th of June every year. So.
And Asteroid Day is on June 30th, which is the anniversary of the asteroid that hit again in Russia in 1908 in an area called Tunguska. And that asteroid wiped out an area of about 800 square miles, about the size of the LA basin or, the, larger part of the London area. So, we'd like to see that not happen in the future. The risks for you or I are rather low, but we will get hit. The planet will get hit. And we'll always have to remember that the Earth is largely covered by water and largely unpopulated.
Yeah.
But if we knew that we could stop an asteroid, shouldn't we? And so that's why discovery is so important.
Absolutely. So last year on the 30th of June, so the Asteroid Day was on a Tuesday. So it was a wonderful opportunity for us to have a special Space Café. And with the absolute fantastic Michael Kuipers from ESA talking about the Hera mission and the DART mission. And I'm happy that he made it also today in the audience. So shout out to you, Michael. Great to see you. But out of those hundreds or thousands of events that you are having every year on the Asteroid Day, what is planned this year? What is planned 2021 in this very special year that we have? And what is special to you? Can you give us some guidance, some highlights or so? I mean, I know it's very hard to pick 3 out of 1,000.
Well, first, let me say that I'm so glad that you are what we call an independently organized Asteroid Day event. Asteroid Day was really modeled after Earth Day, which is that nobody really owns Earth Day. And each community expresses their interest in the topic in their own way, in their own language, in their own community. And so Asteroid Day is a day of global education and awareness that is recognized by the United Nations. So after we launched Asteroid Day, the Association of Space Explorers, our very good friends, the Association of Space Explorers, took Asteroid Day to the United Nations and put it forward to the General Assembly, and the General Assembly at the UN recognized it as an important subject, which is that the world should be educated about asteroids, both their risks and opportunities. And so once we had created Asteroid Day, it gave us sort of more fuel because it had recognition from the United Nations. And so independently organized events like the one you did last year on Asteroid Day, thank you for doing that, are self-organized and can be as serious as a week-long symposium on everything that we know about asteroids, their geology, their place in the universe, to space missions, to folks who this year are going to be doing a lot of Zoom calls where they are talking about asteroids, to really fun local things like pizza parties and talking about asteroids, or quizzes in pubs. So we created Asteroid Day to make it an opportunity to really shine a spotlight on the folks who are doing the work in this asteroid discovery, characterization, doing missions to asteroids, to developing technology that's going to help us understand asteroids. So the goal really was to shine a very bright spotlight on people all around the world. And we're a very small group out of Luxembourg. We've got a great dedicated team there. But the real work of Asteroid Day is really done by individuals, organizations, and astronomy clubs and robotics clubs all over the world who ask people to come and talk to them about something that's related to asteroids. And so, we've had thousands of these kinds of events. And anyone can organize an event. You can just go to our website at asteroidday.org, and there's an event organizer toolkit with a whole checklist of things that you can do in order to organize an event. And then if you register at Asteroid Day, our great team on the social media side will promote your event if we know it well enough in advance. And so our goal is really to shine a spotlight on everyone who's doing this work, not necessarily on Asteroid Day, but on the doers. So I think some of my favorite events that are coming up are obviously our Asteroid Day Live program, which is going to broadcast. I always get the time zones messed up a little bit, but we'll be on June 30th at asteroidday.org, and we're streaming on Twitch TV. So that's number one. There's events that you can find on our website if you go to find an event all around the world. And, they range from things like, having a stargazing party, looking for asteroids through telescopes with astronomy clubs, to opening up meteorite collections, like the Vienna Museum of Natural History will open up their meteorite collection. And be doing special programs around meteorites. So it's a whole range, and we encourage anybody to organize an Asteroid Day event because we think asteroids are a fantastic topic. Let's remember that they do hit our planet, and we should make that stop. But they also brought me and you this glass of water. Asteroids brought us water when the Earth was being formed. And they're also going to be exciting opportunities for us as we move out into space. They have resources that we'll want to use, water probably being the first one, as humanity moves out into our solar system. So they're both friend and foe, and a fabulous topic. And so we think it's a great way to get the next generation inspired is, to learn about asteroids. There's so many different dimensions to it. And so that's why we created Asteroid Day, and anyone can make Asteroid Day their own.
Let me ask you really kind of provoked provocative question on that here. I mean, you mentioned Earth Day as a reference, and I mean, beside it is my wedding day, unintentionally. I simply don't see any massive impact for us in our societies, in our communities, unfortunately. Yeah, but it's my observation. So, and sorry to say, but do we need more of these days?
Well, I mean, we created Asteroid Day to have the world focus one day a year around a topic. Okay. It's an unusual topic because, you know, as I said, there's many dimensions to it. And often when you want to build public awareness, you need what's a media peg. And so, you know, June 30th has got disaster. You know, only a few reindeer were lost as far as we know during that asteroid impact. But it helps the world sort of focus on a topic. And if the topic's not your topic, you're probably not going to be interested in it. But, you know, like I said before, asteroids are really interesting celestial objects. And they have a lot of inspiration that can come out of them for the next generation, for our understanding of where we came from, and our you know, possibility as we move out into the solar system. So having a peg, while may not be directly the thing that changes the world, gives an opportunity for people to say, oh yeah, it's Asteroid Day. It's coming up. And if you have an interest, you know, it's part of the motivation to either get involved or to learn more. And it certainly helped that we've had a couple of rock stars to help raise awareness, because they also think that, you know, it makes good sense that we ought to find them since we can do something about them. So I think having a day is a good thing. And it's about encouraging a global conversation, and that's what we've started. And so thank you for helping us host part of that global conversation.
Absolutely, and I would like to dig into it a bit more in a second. But I hope that you would say, hey, you know, we have this Wembley Stadium, and we will get a concert with all these big rock stars and just do it for the Asteroid Day. I thought about that kind of event, but maybe in the future, I mean, we are all young, so, and hopefully we can survive and not hit by an asteroid. But let's talk what we can do, what we all can do to help not just the Asteroid Day, not help you, but help all of us, because at the end, we're doing it for us, as you greatly explained it before. So, and also, what I understand from what you said, it's not just about the doomsday scenario. Asteroid hits Earth, good night, game over. So it is to create the awareness for these kind of objects, for their nature and so on. So what can we do? We as a magazine, what can do corporations, new space companies do? Can you share some concrete ideas with us here?
So obviously talking about asteroids is something that you can do. Corporations can help fund innovation that's related to space, that, you know, will have secondary benefits for our advancement out into the solar system to understand asteroids. So whether it's imaging technology or sensing technology or communication technology, or space resource utilization, 3D printing, all these kinds of things are going to help us know and understand and leverage asteroids in the future. Now, it's a ways off. I don't think we're going to be bringing back trillions of dollars of rare minerals from an asteroid, probably in my lifetime. Maybe small traces, which will be exciting. But we will be learning about how to live in space. And so while sometimes not directly related to asteroids, each of the kinds of technologies that are being developed may have applications to help us with that exploration opportunity that's in front of us. I think that the public can talk about asteroids, but more important, the public should talk to their governments and say it's important to fund asteroid discovery, and it's important to fund planetary science, and it's important to fund missions like NEO survey, which is an infrared space telescope that NASA's doing, or support ESA with and celebrate the fact that they funded the HERO mission, or get excited about our humanity's very first asteroid deflection campaign, DART, the Double Asteroid Redirect Test Mission that's going to launch later this year. That's going to go and actually try and deflect an asteroid, which is super exciting. And there'll be a small CubeSat from Italy that's going to go with that double asteroid redirect test and take pictures and send them back. So all of these pieces of technology are feeding into our understanding of both what an asteroid is made of, how it's held together, and how we might deflect it. So encouraging governments and companies to invest in space technology is something really important that everybody can do. And then my favorite, I'm always sort of joking about this, I just don't understand why the reinsurance industry hasn't decided that they want to have a special policy, an asteroid policy. They've got cyber policy, they've got flood policy. I think they should have an asteroid policy. Not that we get hit very often, but it certainly does seem like a new way to generate revenue. Since you're based in Switzerland, I thought I'd mention it.
I don't comment on that. No. I'm just picking up on what you said. First of all, today, this morning, or this afternoon, we could report from the EU space launch, which was absolutely interesting, that the European Commission awarded another 9 billion euros for the years to come, or to ESA activities, what is absolutely outstanding. So the ESA budgets will increase. Not sure what missions, but in general. The second point I want to mention is that I think we can say that we address a lot of people in this space industry. These are our followers, space geeks like us. But what is the magic formula to engage the other 99%, to make this call for action, to have this, as you said in our pre-talk, the Greta Thunberg of the space industry. So to get people on the street, to raise awareness, to tell their governments, do that. We need it. Is there a magic formula you have, an answer you have? I do have, maybe that's just an idea, a crazy one, but you said earlier, talked about this 100X initiative and say, if you detect an asteroid we don't know, it gets your name. How easy it can be that people are looking up into the night sky and looking for something what is not detected so far, to give it their name. I don't know how crazy that idea is.
That's actually what happens today. So, thousands and thousands of amateur astronomers are out there with their telescopes looking out into our solar system. And when they do find an asteroid, they submit the data to what's called the Minor Planet Center, which is the central database of all, small bodies and celestial objects, as a new discovery. And the Minor Planet Center validates it, and some telescopes will do follow-up observations on it. And then ultimately, because that individual with their telescope out in the middle of their backyard, they do have the opportunity to submit the name for that asteroid to the Astronomical Society. And so they can name it after themselves, or they can name it after their dog, as long as the Astronomical Society is okay with the name. So in fact, there are asteroids that have the name Brian May and Freddie Mercury and Peter Gabriel and, individuals from all over the world have their names on asteroids. So that, in fact, is fact, not fiction, because it happens today.
Great. Okay, I thought it was a great idea, but it was already taken. So, community outside. So if you hear that, if you still look for a name for your asteroid you detect, I'm volunteering. I take one for the team. Okay. Jokes aside, so let's come back to what we know, not what Hollywood teaches us. So the real threat. How can we deflect? How can we protect us? How can we protect humanity? I know that also touches your work in the B612 organization. So what are the methods that we have today? Because, yeah, again, a lot of knowledge comes from Hollywood that is not really cool usually to see, or from the other movie you mentioned before.
You're exactly correct. Bruce Willis need not apply for this deflection mission. So there are three generally accepted ways in which humanity would deflect an asteroid. And, we believe that once an asteroid is discovered to be on its way to our home planet, that the governments will work to move to figure out how to cooperatively work together to deflect an asteroid. And in fact, the United Nations has got two mechanisms for that already. One is called the International Asteroid Warning Network. And then a second working group is called the Space Mission Planning Group, which are a small group of spacefaring countries that are represented that would work through the sort of the logistics of how we would do a deflection mission, should we know that one was on the way. So the deflection techniques that we have, there's three of them. One is called the Kinetic Impactor, which is what the double asteroid redirect test mission is. So you have an asteroid and you take a very small spacecraft and you smash it into it, and it's going to move it into a different orbit. Because it's moving in space, if you just move it a little bit, it's going to miss that intersection where it hits Earth. So that's called a kinetic impactor, and humanity is going to give it a try starting this year with the double asteroid redirect test mission. The second one is called the gravity tractor, which in fact was invented by one of the co-founders of the organization that I run called B612, Dr. Ed Liu. He developed a concept called the gravity tractor. So you have an asteroid and you put a small spacecraft next to it, and the gravity between the two of them, you just tug the asteroid into another orbit. Now, the two things that those two deflection techniques are the techniques that, the scientists all agree is the way to move them. They're the preferred solutions. But each of those solutions require that we know where they are. So we go back to the problem, which is that we don't know where they are. We know where 25,000 are out of over 3 million that come near our Earth. So we need to accelerate the rate of asteroid discovery, which includes, governments and, funding and individuals funding, and tools and techniques and missions that help us accelerate the rate of discovery. The third technique, which is the one that Bruce tried to implement in Armageddon, but he got it wrong, the team got it wrong, is that you wouldn't put a nuclear warhead into an asteroid, because if you do that, you blow up the asteroid and then you have hundreds of thousands of millions of objects floating in space towards our home planet. So that's a bad idea. But what we would do is you would have an asteroid, you'd put a nuclear warhead on the top of a rocket, which will be very difficult to get everyone to agree to do. And then you would release the spacecraft with the nuclear warhead, and you wouldn't blow up the asteroid, but you would have the warhead explode, and then the energy from that would push it into the asteroid into another orbit. We don't like that technique because it's pretty rough, and there's not a lot of getting it wrong. And so, that is a third technique. It is viable, but most people would prefer we have option number 1 and option number 2, which requires us to know where they all are. Same thing for option number 3. But those are our three, generally accepted ways to deflect an asteroid. There's many other ideas, but let's just start with things that are pretty basic from a physics perspective.
Yeah, and I hear option 1 and 3 have the same principle of kinetic energy to an object and bring it to another orbit. So playing astro billiard, I would say.
Correct. Exactly. So, billiards in space.
And I can tell you, I'm very, very bad in playing billiards, so I shouldn't design these kind of missions. So, however, we just get a warning from our production team that we are running slightly over time, but I'm absolutely enjoying this conversation with you. So, before they pull the plug, let me ask you a few more questions. So, who shall pay for planetary protection? Before we all pay for it, what is the consequence? And then waving in some questions here from Mark Meyer. How can we develop a plan to save us from unforeseeable danger? So, and it leads into what you just said. And Colleen asks, why aren't more people aware that asteroids are a preventable disaster? And I think the bold statement is here is preventable on that. So.
Okay, so there were three there. I remember the last two, but what was the first one?
Who shall pay for it?
Okay, who should? So right now, NASA is the largest funder for asteroid discovery. ESA has started to develop telescopes. They've got two called FlyEye. Plus, they've been investing in some other computational capabilities. There's a very large telescope that's going to go live in 2023 called the Vera Rubin or LSST telescope. That's going to deliver us about 100,000 new asteroids over the course of its 10-year lifespan. So that's a great investment. That was paid by the National Science Foundation. So discovery is, at a high level, will be paid for by governments. There are a few organizations like the Planetary Society that funds amateur astronomers through their grants program that are advancing asteroid discovery. And then, of course, the organization that I run, which is a science and technology organization, B612, we're developing computational tools to be able to and space-based hardware and software to discover asteroids. So it sort of runs the gamut, but the majority of it, ultimately will be funded by governments, I think, in the end. What's different and is exciting is that obviously the launch services business has really accelerated the opportunity for individuals and companies to be big players in space. And that didn't exist, call it 10 years ago. And so, we don't really know what kind of innovation is going to happen in the area of asteroid discovery, deflection, characterization, utilization. But we do know that with launch services within the grasp of businesses and even individuals and for ride shares, anything is possible. But right now, most of it will be funded by governments.
Okay.
I think that let me answer the question. What was the second question? This is a question of what plan can we make to protect ourselves or from an asteroid impact, and the third one was then from Colin, how to engage more people, also why about this preventable disaster. Yeah. Well, right now we definitely do not have a rocket standing by with the deflection strategy strapped onto it. But the UN is working on plans, and I don't know when we will see that time where we have a solution standing by. We know how we would solve it, but the time for when we have a plan standing by, I can't forecast that into the future. It's a very complicated set of things that have to come together to make that possible. And I don't even know if having one standing by is the right solution. Discovery is really the issue. So discovery should be humanity's #1 priority, is let's find them. Because I, along with a lot of other people, believe that if we knew that one was coming, we would come together as humanity to work to solve that problem. And we've got the ingredients for the solution. So again, discovery is really the #1 thing. And discovery will happen more if more people are, to Colleen's question, more people are aware about asteroids, risks and opportunities. And so that's why we created Asteroid Day. We want people talking about asteroids. They're incredible celestial objects. They could tell us about the origins of our life on this planet. They occasionally hit, which is a bad idea, and they're fantastic stepping stones out into our solar system. So we're super excited about asteroids, and we want the rest of the world to be. So the best way is to learn about asteroids and talk about it with your friends.
I can't agree more that if we know something comes on us, then we might stay together and work on it. I mean, we have seen it, thanks God, in the last year with the pandemic that came over us, how humanity stood together and developed our vaccines. So at least for the time being, it's okay. My last question to you, and I know we are over time now already. So, and it's a question I'm asking many of my guests at the end. So how do you envision our future as humankind in space? Beside asteroids, beside Asteroid Day, so
I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic that humanity will come together to move out into our solar system, and it will not be without challenges. Obviously, there's geopolitical challenges. We could be facing, maybe are facing, depending upon who you're talking to. A space race among some of the superpowers of the world. But I'm an optimist. I think that, humanity and people are going to get things about 80% right. And that 20% of failure rate on, how to cooperate, how to be a good human being, how to think about us as a whole, as opposed to an individual, that's going to happen. But in the end, I think that the march of progress has been good. When we look at, the things that have challenged us as human beings over the course of our short life on this planet. So I'm optimistic that we'll figure it out, and that moving out into space is going to be yet another success story that will help make our life on this our home planet better for humans. We could mess it up. But myself personally, I'm optimistic.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for this wonderful last words. I want to end with a positive notion, because this asteroid thing is still scares me. But yeah, I'm afraid we have to come to an end now before our team will unplug us here. So even so, I would like to continue this wonderful conversation with you, but be assured we will continue focusing on space safety, asteroids, and so in our future Space Café web talks and in our magazine. And of course, we will think about something for the Asteroid Day specifically, as we have, I think, good ties into your organization. So our next events, and you see it's less than in the last weeks because we are entering the summer period. But tomorrow, don't miss, if you speak Portuguese, our next Space Café Brazil. Ian Grossner will talk with the absolute awesome Andre Rippel of UNOSA. And again, it's in Portuguese language. On the 29th, next Tuesday, I will talk to Niklas Ninas. And Niklas Ninas is a member of the European Parliament and engaged in the space activities the European Parliament is doing. So if you're in Europe, if you're interested in space activities, you shouldn't miss that one. He's one of these young stars, young are carriers of hope that we have in Europe, that our politicians are hear what we say. Then on the 1st of July, we have our next Space Café Scotland. And on the 6th of July, I will talk with Professor Enrico Stoll from the Technical University in Berlin about their smallsat programs here in Berlin. On the 8th of July, we have our next Space Café Germany in German language. And we couldn't find anyone better than one of the absolute superstars of the German new space industry, Daniel Metzler, the CEO of ESA Aerospace. And we are absolutely great to have him in the German Space Café edition by Andreas Schepers. All events are online on Eventbrite. And as always, we would like to hear your feedback. So please check in with us on Twitter, on Facebook, or LinkedIn. Don't forget to sign up to our daily or bi-weekly newsletters. And if you like to treat yourself with something special, become a Space Watcher today. Your support will help us. Take your credit card and visit our fan shop at shop.SpaceWatch.Global. I know I said it before, but it's the truth. We need your support. And it's the same for your organization. And at Asteroid Day, you're also open for donations from your partners, from anybody, to keep that rolling, because otherwise somebody will turn out the light, and that's not an asteroid at that stage. Thank you all very much for your interest today, and thank you, Danica, for your inspiring talk and being my guest. I'm absolutely grateful to have you on the show. And again, thank you very much to the entire team behind the scenes for doing that great job week by week. Again, I hope you all would stay safe and healthy, and thanks for joining us. Hope to see you next week or tomorrow if you speak Portuguese. In the meantime, visit our website, follow us on social media, and don't forget, become a Space Watcher. Thank you very much.